We have prepared a sample coronavirus FAQ chatbot that comes with a predefined set of questions and answers. You could adopt the chatbot, make some changes to it, and provide it to your employees. This video is based on a two-part series of articles that walks you through the steps required to make the coronavirus FAQ chatbot match your company needs. The intention of this video is for you to follow along with me. So feel free to pause and resume the video to follow the steps that I show on the screen. So let's have a look at the first thing. When you say something like, "I have a travel question," the chatbot will respond with a list of buttons, one button for each available finance Q&A. So you're probably wondering how the chatbot knows what text to display for each item. This is quite easy to check. So if we go to the travel Q&A, in here we'll have 5 Q&As, and we can check each of them, and you can see the first question suggestion for each item is the one that gets displayed. So if we have a look at this one, we have a pretty long suggestion. So why don't we change that? Maybe we should put testing employees as the first one. So let's swap these around, save, and try again. And now you see the updated list of questions, including the updated button for testing employees. If you want to add more questions and answers, but you feel like they don't fit into any of the categories provided, you can add a new category. For example, let's add a category for general questions. So I'm going to go back to question answering, add a category and call it general Q&A. So you don't actually need to add the Q&A part at the end, but as a good practice, it is good to put it there to distinguish what this category is about. Next, we need to add the first Q&A, and this will have following questions. First one, office plants, then watering office plants, and the final one is who is watering the office plants. Next, we need to set the category for this Q&A, so let's call it office plants. And then finally provide an answer, which should be something like the facilities team is looking after our beloved plants. Now we can save this question and test it. Is anyone watering the plants? And here you go, we get the answer. When you add a new category for Q&As, you'll notice that when you ask for general questions, the chatbot doesn't give you a list of available questions for that category. This is because we have to instruct the chatbot on how to do that and what to display. This section is a little bit more advanced than the previous ones. However, if you carefully follow the steps that I show, you should be just fine. The first thing that we need to do is to add a code for a conversation that would display the list of available questions. This can be done from the Cognitive Flow tab. In this tab is where we provide the code for all the conversations. But don't worry, we'll make it pretty simple as we'll just copy one of the conversations. So I went to WFH Q&A, which stands for Working From Home Q&A, and I'm going to use this trick where I'll minimize this conversation, highlight these two lines, and I'll just copy it above. So just like that, and add a comma. Cool, that's step one. So I'm going to expand the original conversation and I'll rename 3 of the fields. So the first one is for the name of this actual conversation, I will change it to general Q&A. What's important about this little bit here is that general Q&A is the name of this conversation. And so I just copied this name into my clipboard because we'll be using it in our next step. The next thing that we have to change is the entity type. So I will change it to general Q&A. And the entity type is literally the name that you gave it to your Q&A category in the question answering page. And then the final thing that we have to change in here is over here. So we'll change the message that gets displayed to the user after this conversation gets triggered. So we should be saying, check the general answers for, and then provide some hint. Now I can save this. And this step is complete. The final piece of the puzzle is to tell the chatbot when to trigger our new general Q&A conversation. This is done from the Conversation Triggers page, which we can find by going to the Training tab and then Conversation Triggers. From here we press the Add New button, and then for the conversation name I'm going to paste the name as we had it in the cognitive flow, and we have to provide a few triggers that would trigger this conversation. So the first one is general questions, and the second one is I have a general question. Now we can save this and test the conversation. And here we go, the conversation gets triggered with the office plans prompt, which we can click on and we'll get the answer. And just like that, we're able to create a new conversation that displays a list of all the available questions in the general category. So now if we were to add additional questions into the general category, those will be appearing here every time we would ask for general questions. You may also choose not to use one of the Q&A categories provided by the COVID-19 chatbot. You can just go to the question answering page and pick the category you want to remove. So let's remove the general Q&A category. I'm going to press over here and then press delete. And now the category disappeared. So if I ask office plans, you see the chatbot will not have the answer for this question anymore. Next, we need to clean up the conversation that shows the list of available values for that category. First, we should go to the conversation triggers and remove that category. So let's go over here, find the general Q&A trigger, press the trash icon, press delete, and now the trigger is gone. And then finally, we need to go to the cognitive flow and remove the code for the conversation that was displaying all the available questions for the general category. So I'm gonna click over here to find our conversation and use the trick again to fold it, highlight these two lines, and just press delete. In this case, because this was the last conversation in here, we have a dangling comma, so I just have to delete this comma and there shouldn't be any errors anymore. And if I press save, we should be done. And all is left now is just to test that this conversation doesn't exist anymore. So say general question. And the chatbot doesn't display the list of available general questions anymore. And congratulations! You have mastered building Q&A chatbots. As a homework, you should update the chatbot to reflect your company's messaging, and you'll be ready to deploy it to your employees.